Hey, how you doing today? Welcome to Mink's Kitchen. Today I am making homemade chicken soup, Caribbean style, Jamaican style. Not just the regular chicken noodle soup. Hearty with lots of good food in it. So come on in. Let's go. Let's get this going. Thank you for joining. Thank you for watching. Hit that like and subscribe button. So first things first, we clean the chicken. I cut the skin and cut it into bite-sized pieces and then wash it. Why am I washing the skin and the fat? I cut everything up and then I wash it, give it a good wash. Okay, so now that my chicken is nice and clean and washed, we got to put the ingredients in. So I'm putting in some pink salt, and I put an abundance of seasoning because when you throw the hot water onto the chicken, it tends to wash off. So I add ample amount of seasoning. I got some parsley, I got my garlic powder, I got some dried thyme. I also have some thyme leaves that I'm going to add, my basil, paprika, ample amount, because like I said, it's going to wash off. So you don't think you're putting too much, because sometimes you have to re-season after you add the water. Now chicken takes about 20 minutes to cook. So I brown my chicken. This is black pepper I'm adding a little soul food seasoning and some ground turmeric. And they say when you add turmeric to anything, you have to activate it with black pepper. So I'm adding some more black pepper. All right, and then I'm mixing this up really well. Really well. You want the seasonings to get in there really good because this is going to be brown. I brown my chicken first for a little bit, and then I add my potatoes, my pumpkin, my corn, and throw the water on it and let that cook. Prepping takes the longest. Cutting everything up, washing everything, cleaning everything, peeling, dicing, chopping, that takes more time. Okay, so my chicken is nice and seasoned up, and I'm going to let that sit for a few. So I have a large pot. I put a little bit of olive oil. I line the bottom of the pot with olive oil, and when the oil gets hot, I start to put my chicken in there. And now these are chicken thighs that I cut up in bite-sized pieces because the thighs just tend to cook better. I line the bottom of my pot with the chicken thighs. We're going to let that brown. Okay, so while the chicken is browning, I'm going to dice my potatoes. Dice my potatoes. This is where you start cutting up your vegetables for your soup. Alright, so I wash the potatoes, I peel the skin. I used to leave the skin on my potatoes back in the day, but I don't trust the skin anymore, so I peel the skin. A lot of the fruits and veggies, the nutrients are in the skin, but unless you're growing it yourself and it's truly organic, I peel the skin off. Alright, so I'm dicing up the potatoes like that. I use about 3 large potatoes for the one pot, and since I'm making 2 pots, I'm dicing up 4 large potatoes to divide between the 2. Alright, so I'm dicing my potatoes. I already have my corn. There's my corn. I have 4 ears of corn, chucked, cleaned, and cut up into bite-sized pieces. Here's my pumpkin, washed with the skin on, cleaned, and diced into I can't even talk, into bite-sized pieces. All right. So the chicken is in there browning. Let's check on the chicken. Okay, so the chicken is browning. It's rendering a lot of juice, and that's going to give the soup even more flavor. My pumpkin, my potatoes, here's the pumpkin. Because these take long to cook. These take about 20 minutes before they get soft. So I'm adding in them early. And here's my corn. Love the corn in the soup. Corn in soup is so delicious, I'm telling you. Bite-sized corn. I put on some water, and I'm pouring hot water. When you're cooking meat, you do not want to add cold water to the meat because the cold water stops the cooking process and changes the texture of the meat. So I'm putting a kettle full of hot water. You don't want to bring your water all the way to the top of the pot because you have more food coming in and it will overflow. So we're going to let this cook and boil. And the vegetables that cooks in about 5-10 minutes, those will go in the last 10 minutes of the soup. So we're going to let this cook for about half an hour. Now I'm cutting up some scallions. This is my first YouTube video that I'm recording. My friend keeps telling me to do it, that I should do it. What am I waiting for? And now I'm doing it. So these are my scallions. I got a little scallion juice in my eye. Woo! It's not as strong as onion, but yeah, little onion scallion juice. Not gonna kill nobody. Now I'm cutting up some celery. Rinse them really well, cut the ends off. You don't wanna make them too skinny, you know, nice size. Now I'm cutting up some carrots. Yeah, it will be easier on a cutting board, but like this, I get a better feel where I can keep my slices about the same, relative the same size. So my carrots and my celery and scallion and garlic are all going to go in closer towards the end because I like my veggies to have a little crisp. I don't like my veggies to mush out. You don't want the potatoes to mush out because then it's just going to make the soup thicker and you won't have any potatoes. Unless you want to make your soup thicker, add the potatoes right away. Let those cook down a little bit, and then you can add more potatoes that you want to actually eat. Okay, so this is what we're looking for. It's coming to a boil. The pumpkins are soft, the potatoes are soft. That's what you're looking for. So now I'm adding the carrots, the celery, the scallions, and the garlic. And this is where I'll re-season my water because these didn't get any seasonings on it, and the seasonings tend to get diluted. So I'm re-seasoning with the same things I season the meat. I'm adding again, just a little more, and you can taste as you go. And once this is boiled, it's pretty much done. Added my rest of my veggies, and I'm stirring up my pot, but it needs a little more water because you see all that food at the top. So I'm going to add a little more water. Adding some more water. You want the food to be covered. Adding some more hot water. So after I've added the hot water, it looks like this. Okay, so you stir it up. Give it a good stir. Cover the pot. So I have to have dumplings in my soup. And I just have some flour. I just put on, I'm not going to make a lot. This is probably about a cup. I don't measure. I just eyeball everything. And then a little water. But you don't want it soupy. You want the dough to be where you can knead it. So I added too much water. I don't know if you can see. I added too much water. It's too sticky, so I'm going to add a little more flour. And you get the dough to a consistency where you can pick it up in your hand and knead it. That's it. Flour and water. Okay, still a little sticky. Add a little more flour to it. This should be good. This should be good. Alright. So you want the dough to have this kind of consistency where it's not sticking to your fingers. You don't want it to stick to your fingers. If it's sticking to your fingers, it's too sticky. Alright, so I'm just kneading it a little bit, picking up some of the flour in the bowl, and then it's not sticking to my fingers. That's how you want it. That's how you want it. And we like to call these, I like spinners. And this is why they're spinners. You take a little bit of the flour, you roll it, and there you have your spinners. That's how we make it. So I'm going to make some spinners and drop it in the boiling water, and the soup should be ready. Doesn't take long. I'm going to drop my dumplings into the soup, my spinners. Dropping my spinners in the soup. This doesn't take but 5 minutes. If the water is boiling, it shouldn't take more than 5 minutes for the dumplings to be done. And now I'm going to cut up some Swiss chard because they didn't have any kale or they didn't have any more collard greens. So I got my Swiss chard and I'm going to cut that up. And I cut my greens like, you know, spaghetti. I like it to look like spaghetti in the pot. So I cut them kind of thin. I love food in my soup. And all these delicious foods and, you know, vegetables are good for you. So some people take the stem off. I like to leave some of the stem in there. Your choice. And you can use whatever greens you want. It doesn't have to be Swiss chard. It could be whatever. You could use cabbage. You could use red cabbage. Whatever you want to put in your soup. Soup can be anything. Make it your own. Very, very last ingredient. The Swiss chard. Or whatever greens you want to put in your soup. Hold on. I'm trying to get my Sazon Goya ready. So I'm adding the greens. And for those of you who said I didn't wear gloves throughout the whole process, see my hands are shriveled up? I've washed my hands about 10 times or more while preparing this soup. I just needed dough. And you see there's no dough on my hands, my nails. I thoroughly wash my hands with each vegetable. So my nails are soft, my cuticles are super soft, and all that. My hands are super clean. So now I'm adding my greens. I'm going to re-season once again. But I'm going to use some Sazon Goya. Even though the soup has a nice color to it. And that's it. We're going to stir it up. Okay, push the greens down. Like I said, I do not like my veggies soggy and overcooked. I like my veggies to have a little crisp to it. So the pumpkin's going to be soft. The potato's going to be soft. You stir it up. Cover the pot. Let that boil for about 5 minutes and I'm done. So the soup is ready. Here's the homemade chicken soup. Alright, the soup is ready. I'm going to put some in a cup and give it a taste. Let's go. Alright, so I'm going to give the soup a taste. It's piping hot. Piping hot. I got a little piece of chicken, some carrots, some celery. I got a little spinners in here, and I got a little bit of everything. So the most important thing with the soup is not the food, but the broth. The broth is where all the flavor is. Not too much salt. Just right. But usually I'll put Scotch bonnet pepper in my soup, but the people that are picking up today, they can't handle that heat. So I'll put a little slice of pepper in their container on the top, and they can just remove the pepper. But yeah, this is good. The veggies are not mushy. Firm, but not as soft. Perfect, that's how I like it. The potatoes are, look, not mushed out. Perfect. Woo. I don't know why I did it to myself, but I always love eating food while it's hot and burn my mouth. Hope you enjoyed this edition of Mink's Kitchen. You try the soup. It's hearty, it's delicious, it's filling, and does your body a lot of good. All right, until next time.